Assalamu alaikum guys. Yesterday I saw the official scorecards for Rico Verhoeven versus Alexander Usyk, and that just proved how corrupted boxing has become these days. Like, this is so disgraceful and disrespectful to Rico Verhoeven. I believe we mentioned something about an appeal, and even though it's highly unlikely, I still really hope that he actually gives one, and it actually the corruption of boxing, it's not strong enough to actually like under or overlook that. But it's so disgraceful. Like, bro, two of the judges had it equal 95-95 for for both of them. It's genuinely so disgraceful, bro. Like, how, literally how. And one of the judges have, I believe, Rico winning by 1 round, which is still insane. And it was only the 10 rounds that they did have until the stoppage, of course, right? But it's just, I can't believe it, bro. Like, it's really hard to understand. Like, like, you can't take it seriously as a sport. I obviously consider myself to be somewhat of a hardcore boxing fan, but I can't take this shit lightly, bro. Like, I won't be surprised if some fans quit boxing after this, because if like, it's so bad, the entire situation. And I gave a poll to you guys, in which it was like who actually won, and thank god, at least you guys also had Rico winning, even though it wasn't as, the difference wasn't as big as I expected. But still, some of you guys, there was a guy who also, in the comment section, right, he mentioned to me that it doesn't matter what, Usyk would have won unless Rico got the knockout, unfortunately. And that's the brutal reality of the situation, right? Because it's genuinely crazy. Like, Rico Verhoeven, like, bro, he had all odds stacked against him, and even after doing what he was supposed to, right? Even after going up against all the odds, we find out that the fight was fixed. Like, it's so crazy, bro. Like, I mean, this is just disgraceful at this point. I really want Turkey Al Sheikh to actually, to actually confront, like, the referee and the WBC, and that entire situation, right? Because these referees and judges aren't qualified to be even a sport, sorry, to be even a fan in the first place of the sport of boxing, right? Like, we have to realize the gravity of the situation, and obviously we can't let shit like this happen, ever again. And the judges, the referees, it's just crazy, and even after the fight, right? Obviously, most fans and fighters, were saying, if you go into Twitter, right, obviously, everyone is cheering for Rico, because we know that he did shock the world and he did beat Alexander Usyk. And for those of you who are, who are talking about, Usyk would have, it was a, some of you guys are saying that it was an early stoppage, yes, but Usyk would have stopped him in the 12th round, either ways. Like, I can't believe I have been having to tell this to you, like, to point this out to you. But Rico definitely would have been a lot more defensive going into the final round, knowing that Alexander Usyk will try his best to knock out Rico Verhoeven. And like, let's just forget the entire judging thing, right? Let's just look at it as a genuine boxing fans perspective, and not all the politics and shit, right? So, in the 12th round, right, Rico will definitely be a lot more defensive, even though he will try to pressure Usyk as much as possible, because it is his antidote, right? It is the solution for Alexander Usyk, right, to attack him no matter what, to not give him any space to breathe at all. And even after all of that, beating that both of these guys took, still, it's just crazy. Because in the 12th round, if Usyk were to get a 10-8 round and get a knockdown or something, still, even if he somehow would have gotten a 10-7 round, still the scorecards were far too longer. Like, the difference was way too much. Like, Rico Verhoeven, in my opinion, Alexander Usyk won only 2 rounds. It was round 10 and round 4, and and maybe you could make a case for him winning round 9 as well, maybe. But that also, but still, Rico will win by a point or two. And that's the most honest judging you will ever get. And you could see in the fan zone, and also Mark, what was his name? Mark Coppinger, right? Yeah, he's and he's an expert, of course, in the fight game, right? Their scorecards reflected nothing but the truth. And honestly, at this point, I know I'm speaking against Alexander Usyk a lot, and it's not his fault at all, Alexander Usyk. But like, so that's the reason why I'm not blaming him specifically or personally. It's just the entire WBC Boxing Federation. These judges, referees who get picked for, I really don't know why. And like, you would think that a Turkey Al Sheikh would try his best, and I guess he does to some degree. But he's just boxing, it used to be very good, as a sport, right? It used to be, like one of the, when it comes to morality itself, right, for the fans and the entertainment and all of that, right? It used to be viewed as a something very sacred, and it used to sit at a very high place. But these days, with fighters ducking each other, it's just crazy. And now with robberies and shit, cheating, of course, it's just, and honestly, I know you guys don't give a shit about boxing, at least most of you, and sometimes get annoyed at me yapping about it. But still, like, as a fan of the sport, right, I'm just ashamed, to be honest. I'm not ashamed of Rico Verhoeven being a kickboxer coming into the sport, and basically obliterating Alexander Usyk. I'm not ashamed of that, because the best man should have won, Rico Verhoeven. And he was, he's a much better right now, in my opinion. Rico is the pound best fighter in the world, bro. Like, forget everything else, because Inoue was, in my opinion, higher than Usyk, in the pound list. But now, with the performance that Rico did have, he's the best boxer in the world right now, in my eyes at least. And I know that, like, I am talking from the same perspective as a lot of other real boxing fans, let's just say. And it's just sad, the entire situation. But yeah, it's really sad. But anyways, that's my take on these guys. You guys make sure to remember this thing, and inshallah, see you next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.